Hello viewers, Chief here. We're just in the middle of making 50 kilos of beef jerky as one of the long-term projects. We have some meat here in one of the trays, and we have some other meat here on the counter which is currently under preparation. Because we've got so much to do, I've enlisted the help of two colleagues today. One of them's Max. Say hello, Max.
Hello.
And say hello, Sage.
Hello.
What we're doing is we're using Max's recipe today. And he's got a mix of some apple cider vinegar and some other secret ingredients that you won't tell me, otherwise he'd have to kill me. And he's pre-preparing his meat by soaking it in his secret mixture. And we've got the lovely Sage here using the special blend of herbs. And she's just lightly seasoning the meat. And we're putting it all into a large container to sit and become refrigerated overnight or for 36 hours before it's placed in the dehydrator. I'm not too sure whether this lot's going to be pre-sliced or it's going to go in chunks. Max, is it going in chunks for your recipe, or is it going in slices?
It's going in as you see it today.
Okay, so as you see is what you'll get. So this is the prep stage. We're just going to put some Glad wrap or maybe some cheesecloth over it, then whack it in the fridge afterwards to absorb all the flavours from the different mixtures here. And maybe we'll come back when we're at the dehydration process and see how that goes. Okay, welcome back to the air dehydrator part. Here we have the air dehydrator unit. It just has a protective sleeve. You sit on the bottom so it take up all the drips and spills and what have you. The unit itself turns on and hot air comes up through these racks here, which are stackable. The hot air comes up and it circulates in a oval shape through each of these grills, and all of the little racks here are just stackable. They slide in together on the side, and there is a gap between each tray of about an inch or so. What we have here is Max is going to start placing his biltong down onto these racks and do his air dehydrator version. I think he's going to do about 9 or 10 racks worth, and the difference between his loads and my loads is I usually slice my meat up into diced pieces. He does his whole like that and then slices it up. But that's just personal choice. It doesn't make any difference. The larger the piece of meat, the longer it takes to dry. Works out the same in the end. It still tastes the same, still has the same seasoning. It still cures for roughly the same amount of time. So there we go. Hello viewers, Chief here. We're at stage 2 of the beef jerky or biltong making. We've got a different type of biltong machine here. It's basically like a small aquarium, and it's got a heating apparatus in the bottom which looks suspiciously like a light globe. You put your cured meats on these little hooks here like this, and you can put a hook underneath that piece of meat and have 3 or 4 hooks of meat in a row to utilise the whole width. And then you just close the unit and you turn it on and you let it cure and do its process, and it's dehydrating for the length of time you require. You can also spot check it each time as you go. I've not seen a unit of this type before, but we're about to use one today. And they just sit in here, these racks and these little pins here, and you just hang things down. This is Max's load. He's doing about 50 kilos this weekend, and he has his secret herbs and spices and other bits and pieces to put on during the curing process. And this is the other half of his stuff. It's been in the fridge for about 24 hours now curing, and it's got a very nice smell and a perfume to it. And I'm very tempted to put a couple of pieces in the frying pan for breakfast, but beef jerky works out better in the end. So this is just another way to do it. When we do his next load, he's going to use the air dehydrator. We'll pull that out and watch that process underway as well. So there we go. This is one way I've not seen before or done myself, but we can compare the results. And there we have Max's new load. He's got 9 trays on the dehydrator here, all ready to go. And this circulates hot air from the bottom of the unit, and it comes up through the middle here, and as I said, it circulates around in an oval configuration, and with all the little slots through here, I don't know if you can see down through all the different trays, all the levels there, you can see meat on the next one down and so forth and so forth. It's better to have the meat not touching, so you try to put a bit of space in between. And this is just a cover lid, and excess heat comes through there, otherwise it would sweat and end up no good. So there we go. With this type of unit, which is just the air dehydrator, I prefer this one. You can just use the settings down the bottom, low, medium, high. It doesn't have a timer. Best way to check it, just lift the lid, touch the meat and see if it's dry. And when you think it's about the consistency you need, well then it's just about ready. You can then further spice it or slice it or dice it or whatever you want to do with it, or you can leave it in a big chunk and just try and eat it. I've tried that before and it's very much like eating a dry leather belt, so I prefer to slice it in small pieces. Well, there you go. We'll compare the two units when they're finished. Here's the other one in action, and that's just ticking along quite nicely. That has hot airflow through it as well, but it's not as violent as the other unit here. This one has a bigger capacity motor, and you can hear the air that's coming through. It's closer to a hairdryer, where this one's just a bit of a gentle trickle. And I think these ones here, from what Maxx tells me, is they're designed to have less heat for a longer period of time, so do it more progressively. So we'll compare the two because they're definitely different units in different ways, but you'll end up with the same product. So we'll just see how they go. More soon. Okay, welcome back. We've got one of our trays out on the table here with the beef jerky. We're going to take a couple of slices off and cut it open, and we'll see how it goes. We'll just take one of these thinner ones to start off with, and we'll give it a bit of a slice. I have washed my hands. I'll slice this quite easily. It always helps to have a good sharp knife. Okay, let's have a look a piece close up if we can get some focus on there. It's probably a bit hard to focus, but you can see it's nicely cured. It's got uniform colour all the way through. It's a nice deep rich red colour, and it's a little bit spongy. When I say spongy, it's a little bit soft, but not too firm. A bit like a piece of bubble gum. I'll give it a bit of a taste test. That's nice and soft and juicy and moist. So this has been a good mix. And it's got a nice flavour with a little bit of Maxx's secret mix. We've got some crushed black pepper in there, I can see. Looks like a little chilli seed. There's a slight hint of honey in there. I think he puts a bit of honey in there to help bond to the meat and have the ingredients stick to the outside of the meat when you cure it. And as you can see, there's a little bit of fat just on the top, 5% there. He always trims his meat so it's nice and lean. I try to do the same, but sometimes that little bit of fat and gristle just helps give it a bit of that extra taste. So there we go. If we can get round to slicing a piece of the other jerky when it's done, I reckon another 24 hours or so, we'll slice it up, compare the two, but I think it'd be very, very similar. Much the same in the way it tastes because it's got the same seasoning on the outside. It just takes a bit longer to achieve the same result. So there we have it. Thank you for watching. Hello viewers, Chief back again. Here we have the last bit of the beef jerky that's been done two ways. Here's one that's been done in the air humidifier, and here's the one that's been done in the what I call the hanging dryer. They look identical. The only difference is this piece of meat here, where the knife tip is touching, is crusty on the outside like this one, but it seems to be a bit softer in there, a bit like a big chunk of bubble gum. Just the way that the drying process happens, but basically they're identical. This one's taken 4 days to dry, and this one's taken about 36 hours. But there's not much difference in taste. So there we go. This is the first lot out of 4, which will give us about 50 kilos of beef jerky. And these are some of our trays. We're going to empty those and put the last little bit in. Well, thank you for watching.